Yes. अरहंत सिद्ध सुर उपाध्याय साधु सर्व अर्थ के प्रकाशी मांगलिक उपकारी है। तीन को स्वरूप जानी रागते भई जो भक्ति काय को नमाए स्तुति को उच्चारी है। धन्य धन्य तुम्ही से काज सब आज भयो कर चोरी बारंबार वंदना हमारी है। मंगल कल्याण सुख ऐसो हम चाहते हो मेरी ऐसी दशा जैसी तुम धारी है। हो मेरी ऐसी दशा जैसी तुम धारी है। तो तत्वज्ञान पार्ट 2। तो 10 लक्षण धर्म आपका सेल्फ स्टडी है। और मैंने आप लोगों को टॉपिक्स दिए कि नहीं गंधर्व मूल्यांकन के?
No, we haven't got it yet.
हाँ,
नहीं, अभी तक तो नहीं मिले किसी को
okay,
भी।
okay. So I'll be sharing it today itself. That you have to prepare, and that's all. That are all based on 10 Lakshan Dharma. So you already have a session in Parmagama Honors each day on each Dharma, and apart from that, you have the book Dr. Saab Bharil ji ki jo book hai 10 Lakshan Dharma. That is also very good. So you can refer that book. It's also available in English PDF that I've already shared. So you can study from there and the lecture that has just come. And then I also send you some PowerPoint clips also, presentation on, I think I think I had 8 only. So 2 are not there. So I'll just see if I get it. Otherwise you manage it. Okay. So like you have to manage this on your own from the textbook itself because it's a self-study. But if you have any questions while reading all this, you can always ask. And as you will prepare for your Gandhar Mulyankan, you will automatically be able to understand also. And that will be shared in the group. So each of you will be able to listen to others Gandhar Mulyankan, and wherein each dharm will be explained. So automatically there will be a revision there in the group itself. So that is for our paper 1. It was paper 1, 10 Lakshan Dharm. Then paper 2 was Tattwagyan 1 that we have already completed. And now we come to Tattwagyan part 2, lesson 2. Today we'll be starting with the lesson 2. It's one of the very important lessons because until and unless we are able to make out the meanings of the text, you know, it's very difficult to comprehend or understand this knowledge about the fundamentals. Okay. So this is very important in what manner this Jinwani has been written and from what perspective, what is being said, that we have to understand it very properly. Otherwise, we will not be able to understand the true meaning, the true essence of this spiritual text. Okay. So what would be the methodology? So the method of understanding the meaning of religious texts, or alternatively, we can also say method of interpretation of scriptures. So very important. If we don't know the method of interpretation of scriptures, and if our interpretation goes wrong, then subsequently the meanings will also go wrong. Okay.
So can you let me share screen?
Yeah. Sorry, huh? I forgot. Okay. I made you a co-host. Okay, so the method of interpretation of scriptures. Yeah, thank you, Jia. So we'll read this text. This is a conversation between Pandit Todramal ji and Pandit uh, Diwan Ratanchan ji. He was a disciple of Pandit Todramal ji. Okay, very famous, and he was working in under some king. Okay, and that's why he's called Diwan Ratanchan. So Pandit Todarmal ji and this is a conversation between a teacher and a student, and In this way, they unfold the whole topics. So primarily, there are two things discussed here. One is the Nischay Vyavhar, real point of view and conventional point of view. And the other is four expositions, Char and Yog. These two methodology has been discussed here. But apart from this, over the years, I have done research on this and I have found out 10 other things which are also related to this, and that also we need to understand. So initially we will complete this chapter as per our textbook, and then I will add those additional points also. So today our class is up to 10:45 only. So I don't think I will be able to complete this and cover that. But I will try to complete this chapter, and then we will take up that in the next class, those extra points. And you can also think on those lines. And if you find any other points worth adding in that list, you can also inform me. I will be more happy to include those points also. Because these are some things that you have to do your own research and find out what would be a good thing to include in this list. Okay. So that we can understand the texture in true sense, and that is going to help us in our path of liberation. Okay, straightway we'll read the chapter first, the introduction, first 3-4 paragraphs, and then we will pause and explain. I will explain that, and then again we will continue in that manner. So, Pratibhaji, you read. You can expand a bit, Jia, if it's possible. Yeah, fine, fine. Quite good.
Thank you. Pandit Todarmal, the root of the tree of this world is wrong faith. Complete liberation of the soul can only be attained with the complete annihilation of this wrong faith. Today we have to study why wrong faith persists in the Jains also and in those who obey the commandments of Jainism, because even an iota of wrong faith is harmful, and subtleties of wrong faith are also worth renouncing. Diwan Ratan Chand, how does wrong faith persist in those who are Jains and obey the commandments of Jainism? There is nothing in support of wrong faith in Jain scriptures. Pandit Toramal, whatever you say is correct. There is nothing in the Jain scriptures which supports wrong faith. But those who do not know the method of understanding the meaning of religious text cannot go to the heart of the scriptures. They understand something otherwise from their imagination, and their wrong faith does not leave them. Diwan Ratan Chand, is there some method of understanding the meaning of religious text? Pandit Toramo, yes, there is a method of doing and understanding things. Till we understand that method, we cannot do anything in the proper way and can also not understand things in their right perspective. Diwan Ratanchan, what is the method of understanding the meaning of teaching of Jinendra Dev?
Stop. Let's first discuss this. So, the root of the tree of this world, this worldly existence, this universe, is our wrong faith. Why we are wandering from one state of existence to another state of existence since time immortal? It is only because of wrong faith or delusion, mithyatva. Okay. Complete liberation of the soul can only be attained with the complete annihilation, destruction of this wrong faith. Today we have to study why wrong faith persists in the Jains and also in those who obey the commandments of Jainism. जिन आज्ञा मानने पर भी ये मिथ्यात्व कैसे रह जाता है ना? That is the main purpose of this study. Because even an iota of wrong faith, slight part also, is harmful, and subtleties of wrong faith, shuksham mithyatva, subtleties of wrong faith are also worth renouncing. Okay, so even if like if you take a big thick rope and you start cutting it, but until and unless the last string is detached, it is not into two parts. It has, the cutting is not complete, you know. So the delusion is like that. Even by studying scriptures, your delusion is getting reduced. But until and unless it gets totally separated, two things, till that time, the delusion persists. Although gradually it is becoming weaker and weaker, but it is not completely uh, wiped out. Okay, so you have to keep on studying, and you have to uh, come to conclusion what you read in the scriptures, and you should comprehend the correct meanings of those scriptures. Okay, so how does wrong faith persist in those who are Jains and who obey the commandments of Jainism? There is nothing in support of wrong faith in the Jain scriptures. From wherever you read Jinvani, uh, there is nothing which fosters delusion. Okay, there is nothing. It's always all the words and all the sentences and all the explanation just leads us to reduction of delusion. Never it fosters the delusion. So then how does this happen? So Todarmalji says whatever you say is correct. There is nothing in the Jain scriptures which supports wrong faith. But those who do not know the method of understanding the meaning of religious text, very important. Those who do not know the method of understanding the meaning of religious text cannot go to the heart of the scriptures, cannot comprehend the essence of the scriptures, you know. They understand something otherwise, okay, from their imagination, and their wrong faith does not leave them. Okay, so the wrong faith does not go off. So even if you become a Jain, you still become a monk, you read scriptures, you even uh, explain, you are able to explain to others also. But until and unless you get rid of delusion, the path of liberation does not begin. Okay, so these are some of the subtle kinds of wrong faith that you need to wipe out also to get right faith. Okay, so what is the method of understanding the meaning of the teaching of Jinendra Dev? Okay, now the first topic, the conventional point of view and the real point of view starts. Okay, so we will complete this in one stroke, the whole understanding of conventional point of view and real point of view, because we had studied in quite detail in Vitrag Vigyan 3 about these two viewpoints. So I will not go very deep into its explanation, but still we would cover it uh, in short. So now you read, Hemali.
Okay, sir. Pandit Todarmalji. Principles of religion have been explained in the religious texts from real and conventional aspects. Ordinary humans do not understand the real meaning of the text, for they do not understand the nature of real and conventional aspects. The scriptures have been divided in four broad heads. Each head has got a different method of exposition. If we do not understand that method, we cannot understand the intrinsic method of the texts. Diwan Ratan Chandji, please explain the nature of real and conventional aspects and the method of exposition of the real text. Pandit Todarmalji, I have already dealt with real and conventional aspects some days back and have elaborately explained the four divisions of the religious books. Diwan Ratan Chandji. Yes, we have got a general knowledge of these subjects. We, however, want to understand them in the context of the method of understanding the meaning of the religious text. Pandit Todarmalji, if you know the nature of real and conventional aspects, let me know what are real and conventional aspects. Divan Ratanchandji. Real aspect means the intrinsic exposition, and the conventional aspect means imposed exposition of things and principles. We can also say that exposition of the nature of one substance as that only is the real aspect, and to describe it in the nature of some other substance is the conventional aspect. Pandit Todarmalji. Then you must be knowing that the conventional aspect mixes self and non self, their modification and activities, and then exposes them, while the all aspect places them as they are without mixing one with the other. Divan Ratanchandji. Yes, we know this also. Pandit Todarmalji. Well then, tell me who are men and animals? Divan Ratanchandji. Living beings. Pandit Todarmalji. Living beings? Divan Ratanchandji. They have been described as such in religious books. Pandit Todarmalji. Yes, they have been described as living beings, human and hellish life being their modifications in scriptures. But we should not accept the modifications as living beings. The modifications are a mixed state of animate and inanimate entities, but in reality, soul substance is quite different and they should be treated as such. In the context of its association with the soul, bodies, etc., are also called living entities, but that is so in words alone. From the religious point of view, bodies, etc., are never living entities. Likewise, the individual soul has been divided into consciousness, perception, and other attributes. But these divisions are just to explain the substances which should be accepted as indivisible only. From the real aspect, the soul is indivisible. That alone should be treated as a living substance. The divisions are from the name and number points of view, and as such are for explanation only. They are not different from their intrinsic nature. Divan Ratanchandji. I think rules of conduct and abstinence have been described as the path of liberation from the conventional aspect only. Pandit Todarmalji. Conduct and abstinence, etc., have been called path of liberation for purposes of disassociation with the non-self entities. But they should not be accepted as such, for if the soul can possess or abandon other things, it will become the creator and destroyer of these. No substance is, however, dependent on others. The soul detaches itself from the attachments and becomes perfectly detached. In fact, such detachment is the real way to perfection of the soul. It was for this reason that it was explained that till we recognize which statement is real and which is conventional in the scriptures, we remain in darkness and understand both as the same. Divan Ratanchandji. Then why did the exponents of philosophy take recourse to conventional aspect also? Pandit Todarmalji. Without conventional exposition, the spirit of the religious text cannot be clarified. Therefore, though not real, the conventional aspect has been made use of. Divan Ratanchandji. Why cannot the real aspect be exposed without the conventional one? Pandit Todarmalji, the soul from the real aspect is different from all non self substances and one with its intrinsic nature alone and independent. If we go on telling people like that, they would understand nothing. Therefore, it was explained in relation to other substances like body, etc., and by division into human, animals, and other phases. Likewise, indivisible substances were explained in parts thereof, Example, soul was divided into attributes like sentience, perception, etc., and thus clarified. Just as a barbarian cannot understand things except in his own language, in the same way, conventional man cannot understand the real intrinsic soul or other substances except with the help of conventional exposition. Divan Ratanjanji, what should be our correct understanding? Pandit Todarmalji, when things have been described from the real point of view, they should be accepted as they really are. And when they are illustrated from the conventional aspect, we should treat them as not like that, but described as such from the point of view of their associations or other instrumental causes. Divan Ratanchandji, is the conventional aspect also helpful in teaching others? Has it its own purposefulness also? Pandit Todarmaji. Till we recognize the real intrinsic nature of substances, we should understand them from the conventional aspect. Thus, in lower stages, I think of spiritual development, conventional aspect is also helpful. However, it is helpful only if we treat conventional aspect as imposition and then we try to understand things. But if we regard conventional aspect as truthful, as the real one, and treat things as thus only, then our belief will remain perverse and we shall be treading wrong paths.
Stop.
Likewise,
Stop. So now the four exposition explanation will begin. So the whole chapter deals with these two topics. One is the Nischay Vyavhar, conventional and real point of view. And the other one is the four exposition, Char Anuyog. Both we have read, for Anuyog also we had read in Vitrag Vigyan and Nischay Vyavhar also. And we also went into detail with that chart, four conventional point of view and four real point of view.
Right.
And we also studied that how does it help us to practice discriminative knowledge. Okay, so more or less you understand this, but still we will discuss here. So there were four different definitions given there. Four definitions were there, and it has been repeated here in this conversation. The first one is real aspect means the intrinsic exposition. Okay, and the conventional aspect means imposed exposition. So first one is yatharth and the second one is upchar. Okay, so that was the first. यथार्थ का नाम निश्चय और उपचार का नाम व्यवहार. That was the first one. The second one, we can also say that exposition of the nature of one substance as that only is the real aspect, and to describe it in the nature of some other substance is the conventional aspect. That means एक ही द्रव्य के भाव को उस स्वरूपी निरूपण करना निश्चय नहीं है और उस द्रव्य के भाव को अन्य द्रव्य के भाव स्वरूप वर्णन करना, that is व्यवहार नहीं. So that was the second, and the third one was this one. Then you must be knowing that the conventional aspect mixes self and non-self, mixes their modifications and activities, and then exposes them, while real aspect places them as they are without mixing one with the other. Okay, so the third one was in Hindi, व्यवहार नहीं स्वद्रव्य और परद्रव्य को, उनके भावों को, व कारण और कार्य को किसी को किसी में मिलाकर कथन करता है, निरूपण करता है, निश्चय नहीं उन्हीं को यथार्थवत निरूपण करता है, किसी को किसी में नहीं मिलाता है. So the real point of view does not mix one with another, but the conventional point of view mixes self with non-self, with their modifications and their activities. Okay, so these were the three definitions that is mentioned here, and the fourth one was Swa Asrito Nischay and Parasrito Vyavhar. When we take shelter in ourself, it is called real point of view, and when we take shelter in non-self, then it is a conventional point of view. So these are the four definitions that we studied in Vitrag Vigyan 3. and that has been repeated here. So Diwan Ratan Chandji says, yes, we know that, we know this also. Well, then tell me, who are man and animals? Okay. So when we say man, so it doesn't mean the soul or the body. It is together. When we say man, that means it consists of soul and body. Okay. It is not only body or not only soul. Okay. So Diwan Ratanjan says living being. Living beings? Then Todomaji asks again. Yeah, that has been described in religious books in the same manner. Yes, they have been described from the conventional point of view as living beings. Human and hellish life belong, being their modification in the scriptures. But we should not accept the modification as living beings. So the whole human life is not the living being. The modification are a mixed state of the animate and inanimate entities. So the soul is an animate entity and the body is an inanimate entities. But in reality, soul substance is quite different and that should be treated as such. Okay. So actually it is two things. One is the body and the soul. Put together, they said human life, hellish life, and then subhuman life. Okay. So these are the four state of existence: human, subhuman, heavenly being, and hellish being. Okay. But in all these four state of existence, one is a body and one is a soul, and both are different. In the context of its association with soul bodies, etc., are also called living entities, and that is so in words alone. From the real point of view, religious point of view, bodies, etc., are never living entities. So this was the first. So if we keep on saying like this, people will not understand. Okay. So uh, it's being said that uh, this is human life, this is hellish being, this is heavenly being. Okay. Hmm. The second example, likewise, the individual soul has been divided into consciousness, perceptions, and other attributes. So the soul is actually indivisible, but for the sake of making you understand the nature of soul, it has been subdivided into attributes and modification. But these divisions are just to explain the substances, which should be accepted as indivisible only. So in reality, it is indivisible, but to make you understand its nature, it has been subdivided into attributes and modifications for just for the purpose of making you understand, realize. From the real aspect, the soul is indivisible. That alone should be treated as a living substance. The divisions are from the name and number point of view, and as such are for explaining only. Okay. The divisions are from the name and number points of view. Number points of view means quantity, sankhya, and name means the name only. Okay. Like we had studied in Balbodh, substance, attributes, and modification. Okay. So the names are different. The substance is one, attributes are infinite, modifications are infinite. So the numbers are also different. And then they all three have different characteristics also, and their purpose are also different. Okay. So in that manner, substance, attributes, and modifications are three different entities. But this is from the conventional point of view. From the real point of view, it is all one. Okay. So that we should keep in mind. So for the purpose of explaining, this has been subdivided further so that you can really connect to that substance. The third one, conduct and abstinence, etc. Vrat, tap, shil, sanyam, all these bodily activities have been called the path of liberation for purposes of dissociation with the non-self entities. Okay. So these are conventionally called the path of liberation. What? Conduct, abstinence, etc. But they should not be accepted as such. Okay. For if the soul can possess or abandon other substances, it will become the creator and destroyer of these. No substance is, however, dependent on others. The soul detaches itself from the attachments and becomes perfectly detached. In fact, such detachment is the real way to perfection of the soul. It is the real path of liberation. So, with these 3 points, we can make out that for the purpose of explaining the substance, these conventional point of view are used to get into the nature of substance, understand the nature of substance, and that is the real point of view. It was for this reason that it was explained that till we recognize which statement is real and which is conventional in the scripture, we remain in darkness and understand both as the same. And this is delusion, nothing but delusion. Because of wrong faith, we remain in darkness and understand both as the same. But in reality, both are different. Okay. Then why did the exponent of philosophy take recourse to conventional aspect also? If the conventional aspect does not depict the true nature of the substance, then why it is being explained in the first place? That is the question. Without conventional exposition, the spirit of the religious text cannot be clarified, cannot be understood. Okay. Therefore, not real, the conventional aspect has been made use of. Okay. So the question was why we are taking recourse to conventional aspect, because conventional aspect leads us to the true nature of the substance. So it is very, very important that we discuss and understand from conventional viewpoint also. Okay. Why cannot the real aspect be exposed without the conventional one? The soul from the real aspect is different from all non-self substances and one with its intrinsic nature alone and independent. So soul is independent, soul is with its intrinsic nature, okay, and it is different from the non-self substances. If we go on telling people like that, they would understand nothing. Therefore, it was explained in relation to other substances like body, etc., and by division into human, animal, and other phases. Okay. Likewise, indivisible substance were explained in parts thereof. Soul was divided into attributes like sentience, perception, etc., and thus clarified. Okay. So the problem were three, and this out of these three, two has been discussed here. So that's why we have been discussing from the conventional point of view. Just as a barbarian, Malech, cannot understand things except in his own language. So barbarian is a kind of illiterate tribe and they have got a different language, and if you explain them in that language only, they will be able to understand. Otherwise, they will not understand because they don't know any other language. In the same way, conventional man cannot understand the real intrinsic soul or other substance except with the help of conventional exposition. So both kind of point of view, real point of view and conventional point of view, are necessary to understand the true meaning of the substance. You cannot completely annihilate any of these. Okay, both are required in the path of liberation. Then Diwan Ratanchandji asked further, what should be our understanding about these two, real point of view and conventional point of view? Then Pandit Todamalji explains, when things have been described from the real point of view, they should be accepted as they really are. Okay? When it is being explained from the real point of view, they should be accepted as they are. And when they are illustrated from the conventional aspect, we should treat them as not like that. ऐसा नहीं है, not like that, but described as such from the point of view of their association or other instrumental causes. Then Diwan Ratan Chandji asked further, is the conventional aspect only helpful in teaching others? Has it its own purposefulness also? Todamalji says, till we recognize the real intrinsic nature of substances, we should understand them from the conventional aspect. Thus, in lower stages, conventional aspect is also helpful. However, it is helpful only if we treat conventional aspect as imposition, upchar, व्यवहार, and then we try to understand things. But if we regard conventional aspect as truthful, as the real one, and treat things as thus only, then our belief will remain perverse and we shall be treading wrong path. Okay. So conventional point of view is a part of the true knowledge. Okay. It is not false. It's a part of true knowledge, but it helps us to take the soul to the real point of view. And real point of view is the actual point of view where we learn the method of practicing discriminative knowledge. But having said that, we cannot just wiped out, eliminate conventional point of view. It is also it is also included in the path of liberation. So we cannot completely eradicate that. Okay. So this is the understanding about the points of view, real and conventional. Now we will move on to the next topic, the four expositions. Okay. And when we finish this, we will take up the different viewpoints that I've already discussed in the beginning. Okay. There are 10 in all, and I will try to get the English words for those also. Actually, right now I have it in Hindi, but anyway, I will translate it in English and I will share in the group. So in the next class, we will be able to understand it very nicely. So now the discussion on four exposition, that also we have understood very nicely, and we have done few examples on this, that how we can apply this four exposition in a particular event and understand the true essence of that event and arrive at a right decision. So this four exposition, when we understand it from four different viewpoints, we are able to arrive at the right decision. So that four exposition helps us in that. And we should apply in our day-to-day situation all these four exposition, and then our decision would be perfectly all right. Okay. So to arrive at a correct decision, we should analyze things from four different expositions. Now, what are these four expositions? So we had studied in that chapter in Vitrag Vigyan 2, Charan Yog. The first one is Pratman Yog, or exposition on stories or biographies. The second one is Karnan Yog. Okay. Exposition on technical matters or exposition on karma theory. The third one is Charnan Yoga, exposition on conduct or ethics. And the last one is Dravyan Yoga, exposition on substances or metaphysics. Okay. So these are the name of the four expositions. Now we will read how these four expositions, by understanding this four exposition, where we can do mistakes. Okay. So these mistakes of each exposition will be explained in very brief, In detail, we will study in Moksha Marg Prakasak chapter 8 when we come to, I think, fourth, fifth, fifth semester. Okay. So till then, if you want to understand this four exposition in detail, you can refer to Moksha Marg Prakasak by Pandit Todarmalji, and the 8th chapter is full on this only. So let's read the text first, and then, of course, I will explain you each. Okay. So who will read now? Madhuji, can you read?
Yes, sir.
Who is this Payal? I think who is using this connection from a mobile of Payal?
Oh, hello, this is me, Payal. I joined first time today.
Okay, no problem. You are always welcome to join. I was just thinking that you are a part of students group, or
I joined earlier in the year, but today is when I'm actually able to start the classes.
so if you want to cover up, I can guide you for completing the first semester very easily, and you can continue with this group only for next 4 years, 5 years.
Okay.
Okay, you let me know.
Yeah, please guide.
Yeah, Madhuji, you start reading.
Yes, sir. Diwan Ratan Chandji, kindly explain the real purpose of exposition of the nature of things in Pratman Yoga. Pandit Todar Malji. In Pratman Yoga, persons are induced to lead a religious life by describing the diversities of this world, the results of merits and demerits, and the activities of the great men of history. Original stories are just as they were, but expositions in the different contexts sometimes are exactly similar at others as others. They are according to thinking of the writer, but the purpose is never otherwise. For example, gods participated in 5 auspicious events of the life of the Tirthankaras, but the words of adoration used by the gods and their lords were not exactly similar to those that were originally used. Likewise, in dialogues, the language used by the writer is quite different from that which was used by the speakers, but they serve the same purpose. Sometimes reference stories written by writers are according to their own conceptions. Example, there are stories of fools in Dharam Pariksha, but it is not necessary that the same story was narrated by Manoved. However, it surely was supporting foolishness. 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 Sometimes in Pratman Yoga, people doing improper acts but with a religious sense and purpose have been praised. Example, Vishnu Kumarji, out of sheer love of piety, saved the 700 monks from torture. But his action on his part But this action on his part was improper, for he had to leave monkhood, but he has been adored for this due to his love for piety. Taking advantage of this example, we should not give up the higher status and indulge in less important tasks. It is evil to worship or pray God for being blessed with sons or curing oneself of diseases, these being included in Nidan Arth Dhyan, and devoid of selflessness in pursuing the path of religion. But even these have been praised, considering that the devotee did not indulge in worship of gods who are personifications of wrong faith themselves and spread the same amongst their followers. One should not in this manner perform religious rituals to achieve worldly aims, which only satisfy pleasures of the senses. Diwan Ratan Chandji. What is the subject matter dealt with Karnanu Yoga? Pandit Tundar Malji. Karnanu Yoga explains things seen by the omniscient beings. Omniscience covers all the worlds and the non-world, but Karnanu Yoga illustrates things useful for us, beings who are in the lower stage of sentience, example, scales of spiritual growth, but manifestations of living beings are countless in number. They cannot be described in words. As such, similar modifications have been included in the different 14 scales of spiritual progress. In Karnani Yoga, things have been described from the point of view of educating persons in a particular direction, but it should not be treated exactly like that. Example, attempts of violence, etc., are called wrong consciousness. But in reality, all the consciousness of the person with wrong faith is bad consciousness, and that of the person with right faith is good consciousness. Divan Ratan Chandji. What is the style of narration in Charnanu Yoga? Pandit Todamalji. Charnanu Yoga teaches conduct of religion as can be guided by the wit of persons. Conventional aspect is predominant here because in real aspect of religion there is nothing to be accepted and nothing to be abandoned. Two ways of giving religious instructions have been adopted here, one only conventional and the other conventional with real. Outward activities are important in conventional teaching, but inner thoughts and feelings are more important in the real conventional aspect. Divan Ratan, for whom is conventional teaching alone given and for whom conventional mixed with the real? Pandit Todar Malji. Only conventional teaching is meant for those who have no knowledge of the real perspective and in whose case it appears that even attempts to inculcate the real aspect will fail. Those who have the knowledge of both the real and the conventional aspects, or in whose case it can be taught usefully, are taught using conventional aspect mixed with the real one. In Chandanu Yoga, sometimes new passions are aroused in order to persuade persons to stop their sinful activities. Example, by creating fear passion with the hellish phase of life as a result of evil, and by creating greed passions with heavenly phase of life to lead people to follow the path of religion. Likewise, hatred with the human frame is created by describing it as very impure, and sense of aversion with sons and daughters is generated by showing them as extremely eager to get the accumulated wealth of the parents. Greed of having wealth and issues by indulging in worship, charity, and adorations is generated to induce people to become religious minded. The real purpose of such expositions in Charnanuyog should be kept in mind to have right faith. Divan Ratan Chandji. What is the method of narration in Dravayanu Yoga? Pandit Todamalji. The purpose in Dravayanu Yoga is to develop right faith by examples, reasons, and various interpretations. Influx and other elements are described in a manner that would lead to feelings of detachment, discrimination between the self and the non-self, and the living and non-living entities. Spiritual experience is hailed and conventionalities are discarded. Importance of rules of conduct, etc., is sometimes minimized to create indifference towards these in the minds of those who are very much drawn towards those in order to encourage the emergence of spiritual experience. Merits are decried not for pursuing demerits, but for pursuing detachments. Thus, the methods of exposition in the four Anuyogs are different, but the chief purpose of all these is the propagation of detachment. Sometimes soft attachments are recommended in order to do away with stronger ones. At others, all attachments have been decried, but nowhere attachments have been proclaimed as merits. Real perfect faith is the is in eliminating attachments as far as possible. Real consciousness is not to know how these can be eliminated, and the real conduct is to follow the path of the elimination of attachments. We should, therefore, understand the real intention of religious truths by following the styles of all the four unviews. Divan Ratan Sanji. What to do if sometimes mutually opposed tenets have been placed before us in the religious texts? Pandit Todar Manji. The message of Janindra Dev does not have mutually contradictory commandments as assertions. We feel that the contradictions are there because we have not understood the style of the Anuyos and the real and conventional aspects of religious teachings. There is no contradiction if we comprehend these methods of understanding the religious texts. It is, therefore, necessary that we should keep studying the scriptures, which is the first and foremost preparation for the pursuit of the path of liberation. You are, therefore, ordained to study religious texts with proper understanding. You will surely obtain perfect bliss. Thank you, sir.
So you see, we had studied about this four exposition earlier also, and one thing that is very apparent here is that all the four exposition, the purpose is the propagation of detachment. Any questions? Okay. So the purpose is to propagate the detachment, okay? Vitrata, passionlessness. So all the four exposition leads us in that direction itself. Now, different people under different circumstances uh, have different kinds of problem. So we have to just identify that what exposition would be good for me in this point of time. Okay. So that's why there are four different methodology styles of expressing the message that has come from the omniscient. Okay. So all these four methodologies are called expositions. So if someone is very depressed, then Pratman Yoga would be good for him. And if someone is very proud of his knowledge, then we would recommend Karnan Yoga, technical matters. And by reading those scriptures, he will realize that my knowledge is so limited. The omniscient God has explained so much things in minute details, which is beyond my knowledge. So he will become reasonable in his life. His pride for his knowledge would get reduced, and he will move ahead in the path of liberation. Similarly, if some people always have this interest to pursue the bodily activities, vrat, tap, upvas, if you tell him to study for 2 hours, it will be difficult for a person. But if you tell him you do one day fasting, he will easily agree. And he will believe that I'm doing religion. So, so those people who are interested in this kind of bodily activities, they are motivated from that angle that you indulge in this kind of activities, and while doing those activities you study. So in that sense, that soul will also study uh, because of that bodily activity, and the purpose is to uh, instill him in the path of liberation. So that was Charnan Yoga. And the last one is Dravyan Yoga. Of course, the main instructions are given in Dravyan Yoga only, uh, exposition on substances, wherein the methodology of practicing discriminative knowledge is discussed by explaining the 7 fundamentals and the 6 substances, etc. So we see that the acharyas recommend us those exposition which are in alignment with our situation at that point of time. Okay, so it is not the same for all the people. It is different for different people depending on the situation he is there in his life at that point of time. So we begin with Pratman Yog. In Pratman Yog, we have seen that persons are induced to lead a religious life by describing the diversities of this world. Sansar ki vichitrata. Ramchandra ji, Sita ji, and Lakshman, all three were together offering food to the monk. But all the three had different kinds of bondage at that point of time. Ramchandraji was supposed to get liberated in the same birth, so there was no bondage. Although, contrarily, his bondage was getting reduced. Sitaji was supposed to go to heaven, so he was minding karmas of that nature. And Lakshman was supposed to go to the hell, so he was minding that kind of karmas. So same activity, but having different kinds of bondage. So these are some of the diversities of this world, and that is being explained in Pratman Yoga. The second is the results of merits and demerits, punya pap ka phal, and the activities of the great men of history, Salaka Purush, Tirthankar, Chakravarti, and all other great personalities. Original stories are the same as they were, but exposition in the different contexts sometimes are exactly similar. At other times, it is slightly in a different manner. But they are according to the thinking of the writer, but the purpose is never otherwise. For example, gods participated in the 5 auspicious events of the life of the Tirthankar. But the words of adoration used by the gods and their lords were not exactly similar to those that were originally used. Okay. So this time the purpose will not be different, but the dialogues may be different. Likewise, in dialogues, the languages used by the writer is quite different from which was used by the speakers, but they serve the same purpose. So the example has been given in Dharm Pariksha, a religious text. There were stories of fool being explained by the chief protagonist, Manoveg. The character Manoveg was playing. But the purpose was the same. The stories were of fools, but it may be different. They were depicted in different manner. So that is a part and parcel of Pratman Yoga. So you should understand in that context only. The second example is given that sometimes in Pratman Yoga, people doing improper acts, but with a religious sense and purpose have been praised, like Vishnu Kumar Muniraj. Okay, so Vishnu Kumar Muniraj, out of sheer compassion, saved the lives of 700 monks from torture. But it is not advisable to leave monkhood and do some activities which are of a lower level. Okay. So, but as far as his feeling for fellow monks was considered, it was a good activity. So he is being praised from the Vatsalya Ang, but from his own personal perspective, he should not have left monkhood and adopted lower stage. Okay. So taking advantage of this example, we should not give up the higher status and indulge in less important task. The third example, it is evil to worship or pray God for being blessed with sons or curing oneself of disease. So we never worship to God for worldly purpose, These being included in Nidan Artha Dhyan. Okay. One minute. So Nidan type of Ardha Dhyan. Okay. But even these have been praised, considering that the devotee did not indulge in the worship of gods who are personification of wrong faith. Okay. So at least he went to the true God and not the false God. So from that perspective, it is being appreciated. So by looking at this example, one should not in this manner perform religious ritual to achieve worldly aims, which only satisfy pleasures of the senses. Okay. So with this is example, the Pratman Yog, you've been explained that in Pratman Yog, different kinds of situation have been explained in different manners, but the purpose never changes. And with these three examples, they have proved it. Okay. Why he was being appreciated? Because he never went to the false gods. So he went to the true God. But it is not good to worship God for worldly benefits. Okay. So what we should do? Why would we worship God then? Can anyone say and suggest an answer? Why should we worship the true gods in the first place? What should be our purpose of worshipping the God? What should be
To
our purpose?
imbibe their qualities.
Yes, good. What else? Because here he has worshipped God to get son or get rid of diseases. For that purpose, he worship. But that should not be done with that purpose, because the purpose of worshipping God should be to manifest passionlessness or detachment. Okay, that should be the only purpose of worshipping God. Vitrag Vigyanta. And if we are worshipping for any other purpose, then it does not make true sense. Okay, so we should not. So we should understand this methodology in the right perspective and derive the right conclusion. Otherwise, we will go in the wrong direction. So this was all about Pratman Yoga. Similarly, we will be also learning about Charnan Yoga, Karnan Yoga, and Dravyan Yoga, where we do mistakes. Okay. So this all the four expressions should be understood in right perspective. Now, I'm not continuing with Karnan Yoga. We will take it up in the next class. Some of you are in US, so I think it will not be good if I extend it more. But I would like to uh, recommend you to join one discussion club that is also a part of Parmagam Honors course. But this is not compulsory, but voluntarily. And they conduct sessions with scholars every week, every Saturday morning, India time, 8 o'clock, 8 to 9:30. And you will be able to not able to attend it live because Saturday only we have classes, but you can catch up on recording. At least you can uh, enter that group so that you get all the messages, and there are some very good information that you will get from there. And today I was the guest scholar there in that event. So that was, so I got delayed because of that. And that is from 8 to 9:30. So I was there in that class. But I would recommend you to understand. I will share the today's recording, but it is in Hindi. But nevertheless, you get to know the different perspectives from different scholars, and it will be useful for you in your personal study and the path of liberation. So with this we end, and I will share the link how to join and today's session also. And if you are joining that group, you will continue getting messages and from them. So that whole is being managed by ex-student of Parmagam Honors 2018 batch, and they have been doing it very nicely. And similarly, some sort of activities you will be also doing when you complete this 5 years course to get to remain connected with Jinwani in some way or the other. Okay, so I'll be sending you the topics for your Gandhar Mulyankan, and from today itself, then the next 20 to 21 days, you should send it in the group through voice message. Okay. You don't have to write it. You have to just send it through voice message. So that will be Gandhar Mulyankan. And I have also given you CC2. Okay. Tattva Gyan. And that, I think that was which chapter? 5 distinct expositions, right? Disposition. 5 distinct disposition. That was our topic. And I suppose you have all of you have done it. How many of you have completed that task?
No, I haven't done it.
So what is the last date, Jia?
28.
28. Okay. So today is 21. So you have 1 week left. So everyone should put in efforts right now itself and complete it on time. I don't want anyone to go beyond the deadline. So you should complete that. And meanwhile, you can start preparing for Gandhar Mulyankan also. And then, of course, that will be Gandhar Mulyankan, the different topics, and CC1. What I will be giving you in CC1, that also I will give you today itself. So the next 21 days you finish it. Otherwise, I'll give that 1 week later on. So you will have some time in between the final deadline. So I'll give you Gandhar Mulyankan today, and the next CC1, Das Lakshan Dharm, I will give you CC1 next week. Okay, after next Saturday. Okay, so we'll close here. If you have any questions on today's session, you can ask a 2 question right now. Otherwise, next week we will connect.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Jai Jamin.
Thank you, sir. Jai Jinendra.
1 minute. Let me first
Thank you, sir.
close the